Welcome back to Studio Chatter. Domestic violence tears families apart. No one knows that better than Heather Wolsey. Welcome to the chatter.
Thank you.
Or welcome back, rather.
Yes. Part two.
Yes, part two. So it's been over a year since you've visited with us last, and we'd love to hear what has been happening in the past year with some legislation and some things that you've kind of helped move along.
Okay, so the last time I was here, I told a little bit about my story. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I was married for 20 years, and at the end of my marriage, my ex actually tried to kill me. When I left, I was stalked and harassed for another 5.5 years, and I couldn't get any solutions through the court system. The police were very helpful, but every time we went to court, it was always a plea deal or he was let out. So I decided to, instead of keep trying to fight him, I would actually, I guess, fight the system, as it were. And in that sense, I looked at every loophole that I fell through and every issue that I had, and I've decided to take it on one by one and change the laws, either close the loopholes or put laws in place that would protect people like me, victims, which it's way more common than any of us would think. It happens.
Disgusting. It's maddening.
Yeah.
Heather, I just want you to know how much I admire you. I follow you on Facebook, and I think you didn't just have traction and then lose it and stop.
Right.
This has been hard and long.
I cry a lot.
And I can't even imagine how painful. And you are still going so strong. And I can't imagine the women you're affecting. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I have to thank everybody for supporting me, because I wouldn't be here without good friends and supporters and people that continue to love me, because it's not an easy journey. But speaking of Facebook, there was a saying I saw on Facebook, because that's all that matters, right? It says that a queen will always turn her pain into power. And I really have taken that saying on, looking at hard things. They don't always have to be hard things that keep us down. There's something we can learn from everything we go through.
Absolutely.
Right.
And use that to change, not for ourselves, but for everybody around us. So I am determined to have Utah be the leader of the nation and even the world in the way that we handle domestic violence. And we really will set the standard by the time we're all done here for everybody else to follow. And so, just a little goal.
Yeah, just a little one. Yes, I know. But you truly have. Like, you've taken that on, and you have just pressed forward, and literally you've just become that spokesperson for everyone that doesn't have that voice for themselves, that are still fighting that battle and are pushing it through legislation. And prior, to this discussion right now, you were talking even what Utah County is doing to help in that position. So you spoke a little bit about Mike McKell, and so how is he helping?
So Mike McKell has been great. I reached out to him earlier. Well, it would be last year, to run some legislation for me. The advocates at the Provo Police Department brought an issue to me that they were struggling with, and they are still my advocates, and they still help me through everything I go through, because I still have parole and things like that. So this law would actually help them help me. So I'm actually helping myself by passing this law. I know, it's kind of weird, but I brought it to Mike, and he was so nice and open about it, and he said, I don't really get domestic violence. I've never really had to, live through it, so I don't understand a lot, but I'm willing to understand, and I'm willing to help with whatever has to be done. So he put forth this bill to give confidentiality to service-based or law enforcement advocates, so that things that I say to them that don't have to do with the crime itself can't be subpoenaed into a court of law by the defense, by my ex and things like that, because that could be very dangerous to a victim. If you've planned, like, your safety plans on where you're going to go to school, if you want to continue your education, or where you're going to move, or what your children are doing, things that you don't want your abuser to know. So with all of that, Mike actually, last week we passed it through, he got permission to start a task force. So he started a task force, and we're going to work on this issue clear up until next legislative session, and meet with just heads of state and victim advocates and people to really make sure that we get this right, and that we do justice to the people that need it, which really are the victims. So I just couldn't say enough about him. He has been such a great support, and just a great person to have up on the Hill, and we should be very thankful that he's representing our state. So
from last year when you were here till now, what are some of the steps you've taken, or what steps have
So last year, I think a few things that victims of domestic violence should know. Our continuous protective orders passed unanimously. It was a great bill. So if you do decide to press charges and they are found guilty, it doesn't even matter if it's as low as a B misdemeanor at this point, but if there's that DV tag on it, so a domestic violence assault or domestic violence, they are eligible without any question to get a lifetime protective order. So they do not have to go back into court and face their abuser again to fight for protections that they should have. So that is automatically granted, but if you don't know to ask for it, you're not going to get it. So those things, I know it's hard, and when you're in the system, I'm not trying to bash on anybody, but there's a lot of laws out there, and there are a lot of things that are changing, and sometimes those in charge aren't aware of what's going on. So I always think that we are our own best advocate, we're our own best cheerleader, and we should know what our rights are and what the law is providing us, so that we know what to ask for and what to expect when we go into a courtroom.
So are those laws easy to find? I'm thinking, if I was in that situation, like, who would I turn to?
I just had the same thoughts. I'm like, if I'm just trying to stay alive, how would I even know
where to
look or
who's my advocate out there?
Right. Well, the police advocates, they all have great victims advocates. Here in Spanish Fork, you have Heather, and she is great. Every town has their advocate that you can go and reach out to, and they can help you search through and find solutions and make plans. There's also the nonprofit community that you can reach out to and call helplines, and they can also help you with that. But honestly, they do a great job, but I've always been one that has just dug in and decided these are my issues and this is what I need to have happen. So I will actually just go search through law, and not everybody can do that. But honestly, it's as easy as going to the legislative website and putting in a topic that maybe you're struggling with, and you will get just lists of things that will come up. So it's not as difficult as it seems.
But with some education level, some women don't have even a high school diploma or maybe access to a computer. It may be difficult to find some of the answers that they're looking for.
It could be, but that's why us talking here today and reaching out is very important, so we can get those messages out. And I'm always willing to accept anybody on my Facebook. I have lots of people that just message me that don't necessarily want to be my friend per se, just because they don't want to out themselves, but they just are looking for a safe route out and looking for resources or where they can go. And I'm always happy to,
that's good to know.
give any of my knowledge and pass it on, and best practices just to keep people
if
safe.
If someone is just they're fearing for their life, what would be a tip,
advice,
if you are fearing for your life, that's a very hard spot to be in, because when somebody leaves an abusive relationship, those first 72 hours are most likely the time that you will be killed, honestly. Last year, we had the highest homicide rate we've ever had in the state of Utah. I believe we had 63 homicides.
Of domestic violence?
No, just as a state, 44 of those were domestic violence. So the percentage of those dying from domestic violence is just, it's staggering. I would always say, if you're in that situation, call your local police station, your police agency, ask to talk to the advocate. Tell them, it's totally confidential, just tell them that you're fearing for your life and that you need to make a safe plan to get out. They call it a safety plan, and they can start to tell you, maybe put some documents aside, like your birth certificate or things you might need. If you have access to money, maybe you put a little aside, and a lot of times you don't, so we don't worry about it. And just those most necessary things. They have you have a run bag, which literally is just like a backpack, so when the time is ready to go, you can grab that one bag and literally run. We're very blessed to have the women's shelter here, and it is one of the best run women's shelters in the state. They do such a fabulous job and are so willing to help people. I've been in there many times, and it's very warm and very welcoming, and they do their best to provide, comforts of home and just a safe space where, you can honestly cry and heal and plan and get access to the resources you're going to need to move forward.
Where is, I know you can't divulge the place of the women's shelter, but that's in Provo-Orem area, right? And that's for the entire county.
That is for all of Utah County and Juab County as well. We're serving 2 counties. We do need more resources, and that's another issue we're working on, but at the same time, we're doing really well with what we have. So
Heather, thank you.
Fantastic.
Yes,
thank you so much again for your time. Thank you. There's more studio chatter on the way.